Broadcasting from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, to around the globe. You're listening to Shark Bite Biz, your exclusive place for business strategy, sales, marketing, and tech in the roaring 20s. And now, here's your host, David Strausser.
Welcome to Shark Bite Biz. I'm your host, David Strausser, and this is your place to learn how to grow a business during chaotic times. I have a great interview slotted for today. Everybody loves Lasertag. Come on, who doesn't like Lasertag? Even, I remember going out to Disneyland. Well, you know, we lived about 30-40 minutes from Disneyland out in LA. And my kids and me, we love to do the Toy Story laser tag out there. It was always so fun to do. But what if you actually had a laser tag business during a global pandemic? Kind of problematic, don't you think? Today's story is actually inspiring and motivating. This business is currently not operating underneath its fullest potential, but it is operating, and they're actually meeting the minimum mark that they need to survive. What I love so much during this story is that we have an owner that when times got tough, he didn't curl up into a ball, throw his hands up in the air and say, oh, well, shucks, nothing I can do. No, this dude got down and dirty. He started doing all the gritty work with his employees. Leadership runs from the top down. And when you have an owner that during tough times like this, that is willing to do the hard stuff with the employees to show them all that, hey, look, we're in this together. That goes a long way for survival. His team members are working hard to make sure the business survives, that guests have a one-of-a-kind of experience, and most importantly, that everybody stays healthy. His team members are working hard to make sure the business survives. Guests have that one-of-a-kind experience, and most importantly, that everybody stays healthy during the pandemic. Not just himself, not just his employees, but the guests too. All of that cleanliness is extremely important when you're doing something like laser tag. But the cool part is, and you'll hear in the story, a lot of this stuff, like the cleaning and stuff like that they're doing, is now actually going to be standing operating procedure going forward, even after the pandemic, because it turns out, hey, this is actually good stuff. We should have been doing this, and we're going to keep doing this as we go forward. So we're going to hear about this and all the other maneuvers the company did to stay alive during COVID. So who's our guest? Victor Pellegrini, owner of Bullseye Lasertag, a tactical laser tag business in New Jersey that specializes in a video game in real-life experience. They offer some of the most realistic gear, real-time scoring, and lifelong stat tracking. Their fields range from small outdoor to the largest indoor field in the Northeast. They have grown from 10 guns to nearly 100 and do mobile, indoor, and outdoor laser tag. So let's bring Vic on in here.
Business strategy.
Vic, welcome to Shark Bite Biz. So glad to have you here, man.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. So obviously we've been chatting a little bit offline, some emails, stuff like that. I know who you are, but all of our listeners and our viewers out there probably have no idea who you are. What's your experience? What's your background? And what do you do for a living?
Sure. So my name's Vic Pellegrini, located out in New Jersey. And 4 years ago, I had the crazy idea to start a laser tag company, but a little more video game in real life, not so much space themed like I'm sure we've all played when we were kids. With zero business background, my wife and I kind of just jumped into it, and I bought 10 guns. I found a little spot on a farm, and we started what has been a wild journey in business, but in laser tag.
Wow. It's pretty amazing.
And we currently own the largest indoor field in the Northeast. I probably have 100 plus guns. And we've created really one of a kind experience. It's starting to pop up around the country and around the world, this type of laser tag. But with no experience, I clearly have cut out this very odd niche of how we do our event.
How is your laser tag different then? Can you explain that?
Yeah, so if you say laser tag, everybody always thinks big vest, phaser, lights off, dark lights, smoke, fog, and everything. And that's what laser tag was, and still is. There is still a market for that. We give them a realistic weapon, one little headband. Everything is wireless. Our lights stay on. Rock music, and then what you play in video games these days, we translate into real life. So we play the same games, we track the same stats. They get their own gamer tag that they keep online forever. So you can check our leaderboard for the last day, month, week, or forever, and check out your stats across about 1 million players worldwide in the system that we tap into.
Wow. Okay.
So it's
also part of a bigger network in that system then?
Yeah, so I own Bullseye Lasertag. That's my company. And then I license iCombat. So I purchased their equipment. And they're an American company based out of Wisconsin. Mm-hmm. And we tap into their online ranking system.
Okay.
But everything I do in my store is mine. And it's much different even than what iCombat fields do. I'm kind of a loner in that sense, but we like it that way.
Hey, that's your special sauce that makes you guys unique.
Yep.
So I want to backtrack, though. Something that caught me off guard is that you just went all in to start a laser tag business, but you have no previous business experience. What were you doing before laser tag?
So from a young age, I always hustled. Raking leaves, doing snow out near New Jersey. Always bought and sold stuff, found value. And I had this idea, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago to do laser tag. I found some stuff. I was a dispatcher for a busy police department in Arizona. Mm-hmm. My wife was a psych nurse. I probably was going to become a police officer at some point. And there was an opportunity that my wife and I decided in 5 years, someone has going to have done this, and we're going to sit back and go, it should have been us.
Yeah.
And we just took the plunge. We got a very bad lease, equipment lease, but you live and learn. And we just went for it and we started it. And from day one, the challenge has always been to get people on my field, right, just as marketing, but keeping them on has been the easiest part of this entire job. Keeping them happy. There's a lot of work, but it is so natural to get people to enjoy what we're doing. I never am concerned about getting them back as a customer. It's just that's been the best part about doing this. But yeah, no business experience, no marketing, no design, no tax, no nothing. I've learned everything from the get-go. And I always lead with the customer in mind. All the business stuff, for better or worse, has always come at the end. Mm-hmm. But we're getting much better with that.
Okay. Now that's good. I mean, how hard of a learning curve was it for you? When you started doing this, did it feel natural? Did you feel like it was over your head a little bit, but you could climb up there to grab it? I mean, what was that feeling like?
So the laser tag part,
yeah,
natural.
Yeah.
I could have 1,000 people in line going, and we could do it all day, and I'm fine. The where to spend money on marketing,
right,
where to spend money on website design. There's been so much waste in money and time and effort on doing the right things. When I find the right partner, I just grab onto them because I know how difficult it's been to find that person or that design guy or that sound guy. Mm-hmm. So it's mostly been a waste of energy and money trying to figure out Facebook events and figure out digital marketing, right, and terrible websites that I've paid to be on, which have produced nothing. Mm-hmm. Those are all learning experiences, and I'm a much smarter businessman right now. Still not great.
It's like the cliche goes, trial and error. As long as you learn from the mistakes, then, it may have cost you a couple bucks, but it's bringing you a lot more value going forward because now you know.
For sure. Absolutely.
Yeah. So with your industry, I mean, it is very tough. We're in a global pandemic right now that doesn't seem to want to go away. What kind of additional struggles has that brought a business like yours?
So if I had put all of my money into what I would call a normal business model, set up a lease for 3 to 5 years in a building, do a full build out, things like that, I'd be in a different position. Being a one-man show with no investors, I kind of bootstrapped everything. The lease I have was an awesome lease in the building I'm in. If I was set up normally, it would have been much harder. Now I had my outdoor field that I started on that we could still utilize. I had purchased equipment for mobile stuff so I can bring stuff to people's house. And the indoor shut down for 4 months. Absolutely closed the doors, was over. But we were able to at least get some money back, get some of my employees to work on these outdoor events, on these at-home events. But we pivoted the second we realized it. I got all that stuff in place. I knew we were going to have to do outdoor again. We were going to have to reopen the outdoor field. We were going to have to go to people's houses. I immediately put stuff on the website. I immediately hit the social media saying, this is terrible, but we can still have fun at your house, safely and with all the same stuff that we've been doing just at your house.
How much added stress has that been for you just with trying to figure out? I mean, if you're going to people's houses or if you're doing things in your outside field, I mean, I'm sure you've got to wipe down all the devices and stuff like that. I mean, has that been hard?
Yeah, actually, it's harder to clean all our indoor events because people touch everything. Okay. When I bring it to you, I know that everything I take back, we just got to clean and wipe down. The hardest part has been managing the little bit of money that we've had. I can't just send 4 employees off to do something like I was when we were inside and booming. I'm off payroll, but I work more hours than I did before. And then when we book these parties, I end up working physically a lot more because we can't afford the hours that would normally go for it, because any money we're making has got to go right back to, trying our hardest to break even.
Right. Because you're working at a limited occupancy right now, I assume, right? With your business?
Yeah, in New Jersey, it's 25% of the normal business.
So how long do you think that you're going to be able to continue working at 25% occupancy and stay afloat? I mean, that's got to be tough.
So luckily, 25% occupancy for me is actually, I could really make money on that if everything was normal.
Right.
The issue now is we've got to build in time for cleaning between groups.
Right.
And quite frankly, the size of the groups is less than half of what it used to be. And I can't fault anyone for that. I don't go out in groups anymore. Say our parties average 15 people before. We're lucky if we get 6 or 8 kids for a party because they just can't get the people to come in for the party.
Right. So besides the regulations themselves of saying that, hey, you can only have 25% occupancy, you're also, I guess you could say, fighting against just the perception of people because they're not going out because of the pandemic as much, right?
Yeah, it's the reality of it. I don't have a lack of people who want to come and play. I have their ability to get their friends to come and play is not happening right now.
Yeah, I can tell you, I'm a little bit more lax with everything than my wife is, but because of my wife, we have not done nearly anything. If I would mention like, hey, let's do laser tag, we're right here in Philly. We're not too far from you guys. And I will go out there and visit one day and we'll get it all over Facebook. But
awesome.
If I told her, hey, let's go there and do this weekend, nope, shut down. Won't do that. And I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way yet.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just
and you can't even fault them. Like it is just a bad situation.
And that's where that's where I think as a business, that's the reality. That's the facts of the situation. You're not able to change that. And you kind of have to just accept it and figure out, okay, this is how things are. I can't dwell on it. How can I make things work going forward in these parameters? Is that kind of what you did? It sounds like it.
Yes, and it's even easier for me to handle that because I started a company that emphasized realistic guns in a very non-gun state. I grew up here in New Jersey, but I lived in Arizona for 10 years, fell in love with gun culture, and I knew coming back, we knew that would be an issue. And I can tell you without a doubt, it's always been, if you are uncomfortable with guns, I'm not for you. I'm not going to convince you otherwise.
Right.
If you are uncomfortable with COVID and you're uncomfortable with being out, no matter what we do, what procedures we take, and we have a lot. I was a paramedic. My wife is a nurse. We take it seriously. I'm still not going to convince you. And we just have to move on and go forward and try and get as many people that want to come out and try and play.
With how, I mean, I don't want to get into the politics of this stuff at all, but I think this is a valid question. With how tough regulations are for the gun industry and stuff like that in a state like New Jersey, did you have any issues with making the laser tags look like guns, or is that something that's just a non-issue at all?
So being a dispatcher for a police department, I understand public perception, their reaction to things. I mean, I've had working a 911 board on weekends, you hear just about everything. And and I immediately go to the police departments that we work in, even if I'm visiting a town, just let them know, hey, this is going on. I probably have a handful of emails saying, how dare you teach kids to play with guns? But when you come into our store, it's not gun. It's video game. We're video game. This is your video game in real life. And people really relate to that. But there's definitely people who shown up and were like, ooh, yeah, we're not doing this. I'm like, okay, I understand. If you ever want to look at it, here it is. It's happened a handful, but not nearly as much of an issue as I thought it would be when we started.
That's really kind of cool, your perception with that, though. I mean, that's something I really like, to where, I mean, like we were just talking about with the occupancy rates, like, hey, this is the fact, you just accept it. And it's like you have that with your potential customers as well. You accept that, hey, a certain percent of people, this isn't going to be for them. And you're just learning how to deal with that. That's pretty cool. So let's take a little pivot and talk. You've mentioned earlier about like the marketing and websites and, the different listings and stuff like that you've done. What pivots have you done specifically during this pandemic? Like, how have you revamped things?
I can tell you before shutdown, we were busier than we'd ever been, selling out Friday, Saturday nights, booking parties back to back all day. And being on so our limit was, you could have a private party. It won't cost you extra, but you need 16 players to make it private.
Right.
Now, pivoting, it's been, you only need 8. Well, I only have 6. Okay, well, if you can come in this time, I can see you, and it'll be private, because people do want to experience it, but they want to do it with just a couple of their friends.
Right.
And the thought is, if I can get them in now, in 6-8 months, when everything's better, they're bringing all their friends, because we service them better than anybody else can. We've had more fun with them. The other part too, in order to operate my building safely and with fire code, I needed to put in special push bars on the front door. So now I'll lock our front door during a private group. I don't need another employee at the front desk because we're locked. I'll go and work the party with my one other guy. And instead of having 4 employees, I only have 1 and me.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you definitely have had to pick up some of the slack. It sounds like you're working a lot more because of, the economic situation.
It is, yeah. And if I would assume if you're a business owner who's not like ready to do that, then maybe there's a bigger problem. I mean, I'll work unpaid for as long as I need to, because I know when it's better that I can do other stuff and I can have employees running it when we're making enough money, but we're just not now.
Yeah, I think some people, they just get, after time, they're a little bit complacent, you know what I mean? To where it's like, oh, I don't want to do that.
Sure.
I did that 10 years ago. I shouldn't be doing that now. And you bring up an excellent point. I mean, you've got to put that ego, or I don't know, maybe it's arrogance, whatever it is in your head that's you got to throw that out the window during these times, because it's a tough period and it's make or break for many businesses out there.
Yeah, I've got, I'm not great at networking. I have a very tight group of friends and family, but in business, I've made some pretty good friends who own and run businesses. And it's make or break. If you're not literally pulling out every stop right now, we don't have money to throw at stuff right now. There's just, it's not enough coming back. So it's all about hustling. And I always tell my guys when I explain something, if you're not working, I've worked for enough guys where if you're not willing to do what they're going to do, why are you working for this guy?
Right.
And my guys always see me out there. I'll throw on gloves and I'll start cleaning guns if they're busy with customers. I'll start the game and get people signed in and do the Facebook and the Instagram stuff with them. But you got to get in and you get your hands dirty right now, because in order to get through this, there's no other way. It's not just going to magically get better. like it normally could have if things were going well.
And that's awesome. I mean, that shows true leadership. I mean, from you, especially because, you know, you don't have business experience as far as managing people, stuff like that. And what you're doing, I mean, that's pretty awesome. I think how you're handling that, you're getting your hands dirty, you know, and it really shows, you know, that leadership from the top down. I mean, do you think because your employees, they know things are difficult right now, they know things are tough right now, you've had to reduce staff, like you said, but do you think them seeing you doing those types of things, it's a motivator, reinforcer for them to keep going strong?
Yeah. And whereas before I would kind of do that, you know, on the hush, like come in early and just get everything set and do everything, I'm almost kind of making it a point now. Like, it's hard, but I'm telling you, it's harder for me right now. Like, I've been here since 10 a.m. mopping the entire building so that you can come in and just work, you know, just do the party. You don't have to clean the bathrooms or something. Just, you know, trying to just almost, highlight that fact, because I may not have experience literally managing people, but I've been in enough jobs. You know, I'm 37. I've been in enough jobs where I've worked for disaster managers,
right? And
I know what that feels like as an employee, and it's terrible. And I mean, not for nothing, my guys play laser tag, you know, for a living. It's meant to be a fun job, and I try and keep it as fun it is right now, because we don't have 30-hour paychecks. You know,
right?
I'm trying to, but they're not there right now.
Right. So what? You know, you mentioned about like 6 to 8 months from now when things get, you know, normal. What do you think the new norm is actually going to be for your business?
So, as someone who not necessarily, I mean, I always took cleaning seriously, but this is now on everyone's mind.
Right.
You know, there's disinfectants that we're using that I would never, you know, just throw some Lysol in there. We're fine. We're good. It will change how we keep groups together, how we acknowledge that someone has used something and now we must clean it. There's not like, we'll get to it later, or not even so much, let's keep the equipment clean for the equipment's sake. We need to now keep everything clean for the customer's sake.
And you think that's going to be permanent going forward for you?
I genuinely think so, because at least I run the company. I'm the owner. I now see it differently, and how I envision it is going to go from the top down. So there's going to be things in place that maybe either weren't in place or weren't taken as seriously. Right. We already going to lengthen our session. So we do a 60-minute session, but we back people up like 5 minutes, spray everything down, wipe it down, go. Now we're punching up to 90 minutes. We add some game time in for value to the customer, but we're also now blocking an extra 15 to 20 minutes. So all the equipment can clean, it can dwell, and then we can wipe it down. And that'll be permanent, because it was like, we need to do this better.
Right.
Like, not just for now, but for the future, it's got to be done better.
Right.
And then personally, you know, again, politics aside, I think masks are going to be in play for a long, long time. Right. I don't think this is going to get officially done. I mean, honestly, like through 2021. But as far as the business, we don't interact. Customers, I always say, COVID's bad, but getting hit with a lead pipe is much worse. And our guns are 6-pound metal guns.
Oh, wow.
And it gets a chuckle, but so they're very realistic. And it gets a chuckle, but it makes the seriousness of, we're not really interacting face to face in this game that we're playing. The before stuff and after stuff, people mingle. We try and keep them separate, but people naturally always want to like hang out, see their scores, all this other stuff. That'll go back to normal as soon as people want it to go back to normal. Even now, I'm like, guys, let's all give each other some space when we have separate groups in. But private groups can do whatever they want. I don't know who they are or what they are. They can hang out together, but if I have another group of 4 people that aren't part, we're going to keep them separate.
Yeah, so I'm interested here. And again, I'm doing this, asking this because I have no clue. I don't run a business like yours that would have people coming in and stuff. The cleaning, the regulations, the health stuff. How did you get direction on how you need to clean and when you need to clean? Did the state tell you, or just? No. So luckily, my landlord, Simon Properties, one of the bigger mall managers in the world, I think. Okay.
They're awesome. So they gave us direction for the building itself. how to keep people separated, masks required, and that was pretty much it. I don't think necessarily having guidance is a good thing because people tend to narrow it down. Mm-hmm. Every single experience is going to be different. I don't have chairs. I don't have a lobby. We took all our computers away. Basically, if we can avoid customers touching stuff, which they love to do, counters, anything you give them, they'll touch. Give them less things to touch. Even on our field, we've got a couple games where you grab something. We try to avoid it. When they come back in the game, instead of hitting a button, it now automatically brings them back.
Okay.
But I got I'd say almost no direction. Now, luckily, my wife is a registered nurse.
Yeah.
I have some medical background. We understood what needed to get done. So I have very good hand sanitizer. There's a dwell time, and then we wipe everything down. And if anyone touches it without a glove, it gets cleaned at some point.
Okay. Well, I mean, how much added frustration or cost or... I mean, is that hurting your bottom line, you think? It sounds like it has an impact. Slows things down minimally.
Not so much. It definitely slows it. Well, that's it. Time.
Yeah.
Time is where we're going to get beaten up. So right now, until things are changed, we have a half hour between two sessions. Mm-hmm. We have enough time to get that entire group out of our building completely. Then we start the cleaning process, and then we start bringing in the next group. There's no real mingling between groups.
Right.
That half hour is brutal. I mean, think about that's a half hour just burn time. Yeah. Now, when we butt the groups up together, there'll be less time and more mingling, but there's still enough time to clean the equipment. Mm-hmm. As far as frustration, there isn't so much frustration. It's almost like a reality check, like, oh, this stuff really does need to be cleaned well. But the time and the non-mingling, the real separation is where we get beat up in my specific business.
Well, do you think, like, when we talk about the new norm, for example, 6 to 8 months, I mean, obviously it sounds like you're going to be doing, even when, let's just say this virus is gone, let's just say the end of the year and 2021 is good. Do you still think that you're going to be cleaning as frequent? Are you going to keep on the same schedules? How do you view that?
Yeah. So I think from here on out, for anyone who's letting customers touch stuff, I think we're going to see a difference in how we act. I used a off the counter Lysol spray mm-hmm. and didn't wipe it down, right? We just left it because it would evaporate. I think this has taught us a good lesson on not just COVID, just in general healthcare stuff, right? If someone touches something, it should be cleaned. Now my customers are sweating and running. They got it up in their face, all this other things. And we'll probably keep the same exact cleaning process, maybe not with as strong of a solution.
Right.
It does beat up the guns just a little. That's why we have to wipe it down. But there will be very specific cleaning processes in 2 years, in 5 years. Right. It has to be better than it was.
So it is permanently changing how you operate your business, it sounds like, regardless of when this pandemic ends. And that's going to be one of the longer lasting impacts, it looks like.
Personally, yeah. So, I mean, I think of it like we have a strict no running policy, right? 6-pound metal gun in your hand, you take a corner, someone's getting hurt. It's one of those things, my guys, all I care about is people having fun as long as they don't get hurt. Mm-hmm. Because there's a responsibility as an owner. I don't want anyone getting hurt. I want to have fun. It now goes into the same sense of I don't want anyone to get sick ever.
Right.
And even if I never knew it, it's still out there. If I'm leaving that up to chance, they may not know they got sick at my place, but they still did, and I don't want that in the world.
Right.
So
well, I mean,
I take it pretty seriously.
You sound extremely responsible, carrying or getting your hands dirty. You've made a lot of changes, and I really find it pretty cool that you're taking this so seriously that it just opened your eyes up to where you're actually going to continue a lot of these same practices. It's
always a cross between, mm-hmm. And personally too with the business, like I want to make money and have fun and do this thing, but we also got to keep everyone safe. There's just you have to keep those things in line. Right.
So we do got to start getting wrapped up. I guess we'll have 2 last questions here for you. The first one is what. A lot of people are struggling right now. They're struggling with their businesses just as you are, you have, and they may not have found the answers yet. What words of advice do you have to other fellow small biz owners?
Man, it has been long nights of just thinking and researching about ways to add value without dumping piles of cash in. Whether that's making friends with a company or someone, for instance, the pizza guy that I deal with, I gave him all my tables so they could do outdoor seating. I didn't need him. He shouldn't spend a couple grand on picnic tables. Make those friendships, figure out what people want. Yeah, I mean, anything can happen, but they're able to do that now because we have been friends since I opened because we have a good partnership. But any of your company, everyone pivoted. Alcohol places now make hand sanitizer. It's all about finding how to make some money, but people still want to go out and do stuff. They just need to do it safely.
Yeah. No, that's great advice. I think a lot of people kind of forget the value aspect of it. And in a time like now, I think value is probably one of the more important things to be able to show customers in order to earn more business. They're looking for that more than ever, especially because most of us have been hit hard financially in some way or another. So you had an excellent point there.
Yeah. Value has always been, I mean, listen, I'm more expensive than most laser tag places, but you do not ever, I never want someone to come out and go, wow, I paid that much for that. I always want to go, oh man, I can't believe I only paid that much for that. You know, they always want that feeling. And yet even more so now because we're all tight on money. We're all tight on time, the energy of going out and stuff. You want it to be fun and exciting. It's just what people want.
You know, that's funny that you say that. That's the one phrase I tell my wife because we're foodies. We love to go out to eat, especially when I was living out in LA. You know, that's what I miss about LA. You throw a dart at a map. Within 20 minutes, you can find food from that country where we were living out there. It was amazing, and I loved it.
Phenomenal.
But what would drive some of the places, you know, they're expensive out there. And when you get into a meal, maybe it's $150 or $200 for a family of 5 to eat. It's kind of really expensive. And there's been times where I left that, and it was like, oh my God, we spent $150 on this. Like, I feel like they robbed my money. And then there's other times where we have the food and it's like, wow, we only paid $150 for this. I mean, I think
we're going back tomorrow.
Right. You know, and even not even with the expensive restaurants, I get upset at the cheap ones. If I buy a burger or dollar burger for a Burger King and it gets messed up, I get upset at that too. So
absolutely, it's perceived value,
right?
That's what it's so important because it's an experience, you know. It's what it was for what you paid, and it's a funny thing because I remember we're foodie too, and we're also frugal, and we've been to a couple meals where we're like, what if we're going back there? We're not going out to eat for the week, but we're going here because we need the money. But it's worth it.
Right. Same there. And that's one thing that I love about living outside of Philly here is that it is a lot cheaper for food restaurants of high quality than it was out at LA. So that's been one benefit of moving out here. So I guess the last question I just want to ask you, I mean, do you have anything else that you wanted to mention, you wanted to talk about, bring up that you think is important for people to know about how you change your business?
No, I mean, it's just hustle. It's all since a kid, I've always hustled. And now with this, it wasn't a question of how am I going to do this? It was, let's do this now.
Yeah,
let's go.
Yeah.
If we stopped and I waited to do the outdoor thing, I would have had a month of making $0, but I actually had a month of paying the loans that now were being called in after the shutdown. Right. If I had all 5 guys working, I'd have no money in the bank from wages.
Right.
And just hustle.
Yeah.
It's no one's going to do it for you. That's something else I found out. Nobody's going to do it if I don't do it, it's not getting done. End of story.
Yeah.
The business goes away.
One other item I wanted to add, I forgot to ask this earlier. Have you had to digitally transform your business at all? As far as, with what you're doing, it's a little bit tougher because it's not like you're in an office building. I mean, you run a laser tag business, but have you had to upgrade systems or change systems to make it easier during this time period?
No, actually, we lowered it. So we used to have a lobby full of computers that people would sign in, do all their stuff. And again, we went with the no touching. We don't, the less they have to touch. So all my computers are off the lobby. And it just ends up being a little more work for us. That's why that half hour is good and bad. It gives us more time to sign people into the account. Right. But digitally, it became even more important for like my Google stuff, the analytics, making sure I'm running clean ads. We redid our buttons, so it's a 2-click to go to reservation instead of like the story and the 3-click and this and that. It's click this, you're going to reserve, you're going to call, we're good to go.
Yeah, and that's
something we definitely changed.
That's really important too. I mean, I know you've seen a few episodes. I don't know how many episodes of the show you've watched, but that's something we've heard time and time again from a lot of experts to business owners that they use this past few months to kind of reevaluate how they do business, updated their marketing, their branding, their systems. They had to reevaluate and reinvent how they did things for coronavirus going forward. And you definitely did that as well, too. So, Vic, this has been an amazing discussion, very insightful. We got to talk about a large variety of topics. Thank you for letting us see inside your world. We were so glad to have you here, man. How can people reach out to you?
Thank you very much for having me as well. It's easy. It's Bullseye Lasertag everywhere. .com, on Instagram, on Facebook, Google. We've got another crazy thing going on, Save the World, lasertag.com. There's all sorts of wild stuff.
Save the world, lasertag.
Yeah. Most people are worried. What most people are worried about, I somehow have started 2 other major things. So
that's awesome. We will definitely have the link in the description on the YouTube video, iTunes, Spotify, anywhere our viewers are listening. You'll be able to see that link there. Make sure you reach out to him. Great person, great businessman. And thank you again for your time, Vic.
Thank you very much, Dave. Have a good day.
Yep. Cheers. Great interview with Vic. I really love how business owners like him just take a step back. Okay? They remove the knee-jerk emotional reaction. Like, oh my God, the world is ending. No, people like him, what do? They just roll up the sleeves and say, okay, what do I have to do to survive? Vic is an owner that I would love to work with. They're the type of people that inspire me. They're the type of people that motivate me. Running at a quarter of his occupancy, he was still able to find a way to remain profitable and even expanded his business to some new things like the mobile parties. It's also pretty cool how he thinks that COVID actually helped him in some ways. I mean, it helped him try to innovate his business further by offering some new options, but it also gave him some good best practices like wiping stuff down. And like he said, that will continue to happen even post-COVID. One other thing, and this goes into the episode that came up just this past Monday, is the value add you can give your customers. He wants customers to have that feeling, to feel like, wow, I can't believe we just paid only that much for this experience. And this goes back to Ed Howie's episode that we just had, episode 31 this past Monday, where we talked about the joy deficit. If you think about how to give more value to your customers, even if you're a commodity, I mean, you can find ways to give them more value, to give that value add, and basically just give them the feeling that they won. You are going to win their business, win them over, and it will grow your business. So this was a really fun video with some great conversation. Me personally, I love Lasertag. His business, not too far from me. We will be out there soon. We'll definitely post some pictures out there at social media so you all can see. What did you think? Out of everything that you heard, how else can Vic grow his Bullseye Lasertag business? What other ideas do you have? Discuss in the comment section down below. Do you want to be a guest on the show? Are you a subject matter expert? Are you a small business owner like Vic? Do you have a good business story you want to tell others? You want to share how you've pivoted, how you've grown, how you've evolved during this pandemic world that we live in? shoot me an email, david@sharkbitebiz.com. Make sure, as always, smash that subscribe button. Share this video, help get the word out to every single business owner you can. And remember, check out the amazing Teespring store. It'll be in the pinned comment below and the description, no matter where you're watching or listening from. As always, I'm David Strausser. This is Shark Bite Biz, and we'll see you again next episode. Cheers.
Thank you for listening to Shark Bite Biz. We hope you got some insightful info from this podcast. Be sure to subscribe to us through your favorite podcast app and visit us on the web at www.sharkbitebiz.com. How has business changed for you in the 20s? Email us at podcast@sharkbitebiz.com so you can join us and share your story.